Hello, hello. You are listening to a brand new episode of Red, Right, and Brown, brought to you by Live. Today, we got a big list for you guys. We got four reviews that we're coming at you with today. A few on all your favorite streaming platforms. Some of them even hitting the theaters. That's right. We're back in the theaters, just like always. I'm very excited to talk about, kind of what's going on in the theater and some of the movies that we've been watching. But without further ado, we're just going to get the ball rolling. We're going to talk about a series that came out on Netflix called Trial by Fire. So Trial by Fire is an interesting series because it kind of follows like a similar docu-series. Like it's docu-series in a way where it's like it's talking about a real life event. However, they do create a fictional story out of it. So just for a little bit of context, on June 13th, 1997, a tragic fire at the Uphaar cinema in Delhi resulted in about 59 deaths. And two of the stars that were actually on this, Neelam and Shekhar Krishnamoorthy, I believe that's the pronunciation. They had their own children that were affected. They were victims, and ultimately it was because of a lack of like emergency systems. Like there wasn't a whole lot of support staff that was helping out in the situation. And so, Trial by Fire is a series that kind of recounts the events that were happening, at this time, and kind of just serves as a representation of this real life event. So, but the series states that it's a work of fiction. It's inspired by the book Trial of Fire, and it does not make any claims of authenticity or correctness of events. But it does not shy away from naming like the real life individuals involved in the story. We got the Ansel brothers, Gopal and Sushil, who were prominent in the construction industry and are named, and their actions are depicted, despite the fact that they weren't charged, or even they. I think they were charged, but their sentence got reduced. But it's a 7-part web series, like I said, on Netflix. And yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of great acting opportunities in this. We have a big cast here. We got Raj Rat, and like I said, apologies on the pronunciation, but we got Rajshri Deshpande, Abhay Deol, Rajesh Thailang, and many more who deserve lots of recognition for the great roles that they played. Rajshri Deshpande and Abhay, they play the parents of victims, and there's a lot of empathy with this. Like me myself, I'm not a parent. I'm still quite young, and I will say that like there was a lot of like empathy invoked like with the audience. Like I was sitting there like really sad, just like thinking about the idea of losing a child in such a tragic event. And there's just like all these like little nuances of like these two actors really coming together and just create a very emotional landscape. But nonetheless, I thought this was a very like thought-provoking series. It tells the true story of the Uphaar cinema fire, as well as like brings across themes for just lack of for better words, preparation, or lack of safety concerns, things like that may have been happening that led up to that event that we now maybe sometimes take for granted, because in all of our buildings, or at least I would hope so, we are prepared for the event of a large fire occurring. But manage, install hope and inspiration, even in the face of tragedy. Like I said, give big kudos to the actors.
So, Michael, you said that this series is based on a true story, but some of it was fictionalized. So sometimes, I guess, when these kinds of shows, they tend to put that drama, extra kind of stuff in there, it can be kind of carried away. How do you think that Trial by Fire handled that fictionalization of real life events?
Yeah, I don't think it got too carried away because like I can't remember what movie it was off the top of my head, but I do remember watching similar types of movies or series where they try and recount like a very big event happening in India, and what they will do the events that happen in real life. But yeah, as you said, there's like this really extra extreme dramatization that's occurring. What I felt in this series, though, that kind of made it a little different was that they were talking about an incident in which, a cinema fire occurred and led to a lot of deaths, but they didn't quite, let's say, this is the fire that we're talking about. This is the event that we're happening. In fact, it almost felt as if they created, let's say, a fictional family, fictional characters and everything, and they let the tragedy of that event just kind of play into this fictional family, which I think is a much better way to do it, because it kind of flips what you are fictionalizing, right? So in this case, it's fictionalizing the event, but it's making it a little bit more like historically fictional. Whereas, before the event's real, but the cast and everything is like, I would say, yeah, just making it a lot more dramatic than it needs to be. But that's overall how I felt about the film, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes total sense. It sounds like they handled it pretty well, and handled a pretty sensitive topic and event too, with some kind of grace. So that's really good, actually.
Exactly. And like I said, I gotta give my hats off to the actors, because I mean they're really the ones that kind of were able to draw it back to the event that actually occurred. Because if they hadn't really done, I believe, the acting job that they did, with such kind of like sorrow, or with such like despair, I don't think the audience would have really understood kind of what this whole series was trying to get at, which was like, just how like the lack of safety concern, how the lack of, a lot of these things can lead to such, big consequences and stuff. So their job as the actors was really big, and I think they really delivered in that sense.
Well, that sounds super interesting. I think everyone should check it out. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely give this a watch. It's very, if you're very sensitive to these kinds of topics, I would maybe just stray away, because you might be sobbing for all 7 episodes. But nonetheless, I do think it's a great watch, because as I said earlier, it kind of brings light to like some of these themes that I think are really important.